everyone! Welcome to Nightingale's channel. This is the full version of the story. My husband's family called me a freeloader. Now I'm the one supporting their entire household. I was 24 when I married Nate, my college boyfriend, in a small ceremony in Nashville, Tennessee. He was sweet, ambitious, with a smile that could light up a room. We'd dated for 3 years, building dreams of a cozy home and maybe a kid or two. His family, the Carsons, were old money, big house, big egos, and a family hardware business that kept them comfortable. I thought marrying Nate meant joining a warm, tight-knit clan. I was wrong. From day one, they saw me as an outsider, a Yahweh country girl from a no-name town who'd somehow snagged their golden boy. I wasn't from wealth. My mom was a school teacher, my dad a mechanic. But I had grit. I'd worked through college, majoring in business, and I brought that hustle to the marriage. I moved into Nate's family home to save for our own place, helping with their business by managing inventory, even pitching marketing ideas. But no matter what I did, cooking Sunday dinners, balancing their books, staying up late to fix their outdated website, I was never enough. Nate's mom, Diane, was the worst. She'd call me the help behind my back, saying I was lucky to have Nate. His dad and sister Claire weren't much better, smirking when I spoke, dismissing my ideas as cute. They had a nickname for me, the Leech. I overheard Claire at a family barbecue, laughing with cousins. Emma's only good for spending Nate's money. What else can a girl like her do? My cheeks burned, but I swallowed it, thinking I could prove them wrong. I doubled down, redesigning their store's displays, boosting sales by 10%. Nate praised me privately, but in front of them, he'd shrug, like it was no big deal. Slowly, their words sank in. Gold digger, hick, good for nothing. I started doubting myself, my confidence fraying. The breaking point came at a family dinner, a year into our marriage. The table was packed. Diane, Nate's dad, Claire, aunts, uncles, all toasting Nate's latest deal. I'd spent hours cooking, hoping for a nod of approval. Instead, Diane waited until dessert, her wine glass raised to strike. "Let's be real," she said, her voice cutting through the chatter. "If it weren't for my son, Emma wouldn't be sitting here. She's got no skills, no class, just a knack for living off Nate's hard work." The room went quiet. Nate stared at his plate, silent. Claire snickered. I froze, my fork trembling as every eye turned to me. I wanted to scream, to list every hour I'd poured into their family, their business. But my throat closed up. "Excuse me," I mumbled, fleeing to the kitchen. Nate followed, half-hearted. "She didn't mean it," he said, but his eyes said he believed her. That night, lying beside him, I realized the truth. I wasn't family. I was a prop, tolerated as long as I played the part. Diane's words echoed. "Without my son, you're nothing." They stung because I'd started to wonder if she was right. As I cleared the dishes, alone, a spark flickered. I wasn't nothing. I'd built things before, my degree, my dreams. They could call me a leech, but they couldn't take my fight. Standing there, surrounded by their fancy china, I made a vow. I'd show them who Emma Carson really was. This wasn't the end. It was the start of a fire they'd never see coming. After that dinner, I was a ghost in my own marriage. Nate's silence when his mom called me worthless cut deeper than her words. I'd always thought he was my partner, but now I saw the truth. He was complicit, soaking up their praise while I shrank. He started echoing them, his tone cold. "Maybe." "Mom's got a point, Emma," he said one night, eyeing my yoga pants like they were a crime. "You could try harder, you know? Be more grateful." Grateful? For what? Being their punching bag? I tried to fix it, pouring more into the family business, redesigning their website, boosting their social media. But nothing changed. Diane would scoff, "Anyone can post on Facebook," while Claire smirked, "Don't strain yourself, hun." Nate never defended me. The final straw came when he snapped, "Just know your place, Emma. You're lucky to have me." Lucky? I wasn't a charity case. I was his wife. That night, I looked in the mirror, barely recognizing the woman staring back. Tired, small, lost. I wasn't living. I was surviving. And I was done. Divorce wasn't a word I'd ever imagined, but it became my lifeline. I planned in secret, saving $500 from odd jobs, tutoring, selling old clothes. I met a lawyer in a coffee shop, my hands shaking as I signed the papers. Nate didn't fight it. He just shrugged like I was a bad investment. "You'll regret this," he said, his voice smug. Diane was worse, cornering me as I packed. "You'll be nothing without us," she sneered. "Good luck, Leech." I didn't argue. I just took my suitcase, clothes, a notebook, my pride, and left. I landed in a tiny studio apartment in Murfreesboro, 30 miles from Nashville, all I could afford at $400 a month. The walls were thin, the AC barely worked, but it was mine. I had no job, no plan, just a fire in my chest. Diane's voice, "You're nothing," was a taunt I refused to believe. I'd studied business in college. I'd run their store's marketing. Better than they ever did. I could start over. That first night, I taped a note to the wall. Day 1. From today, I'm my own boss. It wasn't a promise. It was a vow. I started small, scouring free online courses on Coursera and YouTube, branding, e-commerce, marketing. I'd sit on the floor, laptop balanced on a cardboard box, scribbling ideas. I wanted to build something real, something that screamed Emma, not Nate's wife. I'd always loved local crafts, jewelry, candles, quilts, so I dreamed of a brand selling Tennessee-made goods, online, and maybe in a store someday. But dreams don't pay bills. I took gigs, waitressing, dog walking, anything, saving every penny for my startup. The early days were brutal. I'd stay up till 3 a.m., sketching logos, researching suppliers, only to wake at 6 for a breakfast shift. My first website, built on a free platform, crashed twice. I had $50 in stock, 10 handmade bracelets from a local artisan, and no customers. Doubt crept in, whispering I'd fail, that Diane was right. But every time I wanted to quit, I'd see her smirk, hear Nate's know your place. No way was I proving them right. I wasn't just fighting for a business. I was fighting for my worth. By month 3, I had a name, Tennessee Heart, a website, a few products, and a tiny Instagram following. I wasn't rich, but I was moving. Each sale, each love your stuff comment was a step away from Leech. I was Emma Carson, and I was just getting started. At 26, I was all in on Tennessee Heart. My studio apartment was a chaotic workshop. Boxes of bracelets, candles, and quilts stacked against the walls, my laptop glowing on a wobbly table. I'd quit waitressing to focus on the business, living off $800 in savings and sheer will. Those online courses I'd devoured, marketing, branding, e-commerce, were my blueprint. I taught myself to shoot product photos with a borrowed phone, edit videos on free software, and write captions that popped. But passion doesn't pay the electric bill, and I was learning the hard way. The first year was a grind. I'd drive hours to meet artisans, convincing them to let me sell their work. I packed every order myself, hands raw from tape and twine. My website, Tennessee Heart, had a trickle of sales, $50 one week, $200 the next. But shipping costs ate half. I'd post on Instagram daily, heart sinking when posts got 10 likes. Diane's voice haunted me. Komamojuk gi thitoi ji bang jiao. Her sneer, "If you can start something, I'll walk on my head," was my fuel. I'd mutter, "Keep your head ready, Diane, and keep working." Setbacks hit hard. A supplier ghosted me, taking $300 in prepayments. A batch of candles arrived cracked, costing me refunds. I'd cry in the shower, the only place I could hide, wondering if I was crazy. Nate's words, "Know your place," stung, tempting me to quit. But every time I'd see that note on my wall, Day 1, I'm my own boss. I wasn't just building a store, I was building Emma, the woman they'd tried to erase. Then came a break. I posted a TikTok, raw and real, showing my messy apartment, hands packing a quilt, voice cracking as I said, "This is Tennessee Heart, made by people like me who don't give up." It went viral, 50,000 views, then 500,000. Comments flooded in. "You're inspiring, just ordered." Sales spiked, my phone buzzing with orders. I rented a small warehouse, hired a part-timer, Jess, to pack boxes. Local artisans begged to join, and I curated their best: leather bags, pottery, soaps, each with a story I told online. By 27, Tennessee Heart was a name. A Nashville paper ran a feature. From divorce to dream, Emma Carson's craft empire. They called me a phoenix, rising after personal betrayal, no names needed. The story spread, landing me a spot on a regional morning show. I wore a blazer I couldn't afford, sharing how I'd started with $50 and a dream. It's not about proving anyone wrong, I said. Diane's smirk in my mind. It's about proving I can. Sales doubled, and I opened a storefront in Murfreesboro, crowds lining up on launch day. Then, whispers reached me. Jess, who had Nashville ties, heard gossip. The Carsons' hardware business was tanking. Nate's bad investments, fancy trucks, risky loans, had bled them dry. Diane's big house was mortgaged to the hilt. Claire's boutique shuttered. They were drowning in debt, scrambling to sell assets. And word was spreading that Leech Emma was behind Tennessee Heart, the brand popping up in stores and on TV. I didn't smile. I worked harder. This wasn't about their fall. It was about my climb. As I prepped for a pitch to a national retailer, I stood in my warehouse, boxes stacked high, Jess humming nearby. I wasn't the girl Diane had humiliated. I was Emma Carson, and I'd built this with my hands, my head, and a heart that refused to break. At 28, Tennessee Heart wasn't just a business, it was a movement. My Murfreesboro storefront was packed daily, locals and tourists snapping up quilts, jewelry, and soaps. Our online store shipped to every state with 10,000 monthly orders and a team of 15, including Jess, my right-hand packer. I'd moved from my cramped studio to a small loft, but my real home was the warehouse, where I'd brainstorm with artisans over coffee. That TikTok that went viral, it was a launch pad. My Instagram hit 100,000 followers, each post, me unpacking. A leather bag or hyping an artisan, sparking sales and shares. The media loved me. A Nashville magazine ran a cover story. Emma Carson, the woman who rebuilt herself. They detailed my divorce, calling it a catalyst without naming Nate, and praised Tennessee Heart as the soul of Southern entrepreneurship. I did TV spots, my voice steadier with each one, sharing how I'd started with $50 and a dream. I was told I'd be nothing, I said on a morning show, Diane's sneer in my mind. But I decided to be everything, for me. The clip trended and orders crashed our site. The big break came when a national retailer, Southern Charm Cabaret, offered a deal to stock Tennessee Heart products in 50 stores. I flew to Atlanta for the pitch, my first time in a boardroom, wearing a blazer Jess had ironed for luck. I nailed it, securing a contract that tripled our revenue. We opened a second showroom in Nashville, my name on the lease, no Mrs. Carson. Attached. At the ribbon cutting, I smiled for cameras, feeling every late night, every cracked candle, every tear payoff. I was Emma, not Nate's wife, and the world knew it. Meanwhile, the Carsons were imploding. Jess, my Nashville gossip line, got the scoop. Nate's hardware business was bankrupt. His risky loans called in. Diane's mansion was in foreclosure. Claire's boutique a memory. They'd sold their fancy cars, Nate driving a beat-up truck, scrambling for odd jobs. Word spread in their circle. Tennessee Heart, the brand on every lifestyle blog, was Emma's. Diane, once so smug, couldn't go to her country club without hearing my name. Nate's friends teased him. Your ex is killing it, man. They weren't laughing anymore. They were desperate. I heard they'd been asking around, trying to reconnect with me. A mutual friend texted. Nate's mom mentioned you, said you're doing surprisingly well. I laughed, picturing Diane choking on surprisingly. Their downfall didn't thrill me, but it sharpened my focus. I wasn't building Tennessee Heart to gloat. I was building it to last. I hired more staff, partnered with new artisans, and prepped for our first export deal to Canada. Every step was a brick in my empire, laid with the grit they'd mocked. One night, I stood in the Nashville showroom, lights glinting off glass cases. A customer, a young woman, bought a quilt and said, "You're my hero." I left a bad marriage, too. I hugged her, my throat tight. This was bigger than the Carsons. It was about women like us, starting over, proving we're enough. As I locked up, my phone pinged. A local news outlet wanted an interview about my post-divorce glow-up. I smiled, thinking of Diane's words. Nothing without my son. I was everything, and they knew it now. The Carsons were out of moves, their pride in tatters. I didn't know they'd come knocking soon, but I was ready. Wasn't there Leach anymore? I was Emma Carson, and my name carried weight. At 29, Tennessee Heart was a powerhouse. Our Nashville showroom gleamed, our products in 50 Southern Charm Cumbers stores and export deals in the works. I led a team of 20, my loft now a proper home with framed articles on the walls. Emma Carson, the queen of comebacks. I was no longer Nate's wife, I was Emma, period. But the past has a way of knocking. And when it did, it came in the form of a text from Claire, Nate's sister. Emma, can we talk? Family's in a rough spot. You're doing so well, maybe you could help? I stared, a bitter laugh escaping. Help? After they'd called me nothing? I heard through Jess, my team lead, that the Carsons were desperate. Nate's hardware business was gone, liquidated to pay creditors. Diane's mansion was repossessed, and they were renting a cramped duplex, bickering over bills. Claire's boutique had folded, and Nate was driving for a rideshare app, his ego in tatters. They'd seen my billboards, my TV spots, my name everywhere. Now, the Leach was their last hope. I didn't reply to Claire, but when their lawyer emailed, requesting a meeting about investment opportunities, I said yes. Not to help, to end this chapter on my terms. The meeting was at my Nashville headquarters, a sleek office with glass, walls, and my logo glowing on a screen. I wore a tailored emerald blazer, my hair swept up, every inch the CEO. My team prepped the boardroom, but I kept it small, just me, Jess, and my CFO. Nate, Diane, and Claire arrived, looking out of place, in their faded clothes. Diane's usual smirk was gone, replaced by a forced smile. Nate wouldn't meet my eyes, his hands fidgeting. Claire tried a weak, "You look amazing, Emma, like we were old friends." I gestured to the chairs, my voice cool. "You wanted to talk investment. Go ahead." Diane cleared her throat, her tone syrupy. "Emma, we're so proud of you, really. You've done surprisingly well. We're in a bind, just temporary, and thought you might invest in a new venture. For old time's sake." Nate chimed in, his voice strained. "Your family, Em. We'd make it worth your while." Claire nodded, adding, "Mom didn't mean all that stuff before, just heat of the moment." The room felt charged, their desperation palpable. I leaned back, letting their words hang. Family, old times. I saw Diane's sneer at that dinner, Nate's silence, Claire's laughter. I stood, walking to the window, the Nashville skyline behind me. "Let's be clear," I said, turning to face them, my voice steady. "I don't do charity, and I don't invest in people who saw me as worthless." Diane flinched, Nate's face reddened. But I wasn't done. "You called me a leech, said I'd be nothing without you. I built this," I gestured to the room, "without a cent from you. You don't get to claim me now." Claire stammered. "Emma, we're sorry." I cut her off, my smile icy. "Sorry doesn't buy trust. You don't get a stake in what I earned." I nodded to Jess, who slid them a polite exit letter. "This meeting's over." They sat stunned as I walked out, my heels clicking. Diane's voice cracked. "You've changed," but I didn't look back. I'd changed, all right, into someone they couldn't touch. In my office, Jess grinned. That was epic. I exhaled, the weight of years lifting. I didn't need their groveling. I had Tennessee Heart. My team. My truth. The Carsons were no longer my story. They were just a chapter I'd closed. At 30, Tennessee Heart was a beacon. Our Nashville showroom sparkled, our products in 75 stores nationwide, with exports to Canada and talks for Europe. I led a team of 30, my loft now a warm home filled with artisan gifts from my partners, pottery, quilts, a life I'd crafted. The media crowned me the comeback queen, with profiles in Forbes and Southern Living hailing my post-divorce rise. But it wasn't. The headlines that kept me going. It was the emails from women saying, "You gave me hope." That was my why. The Carsons were a fading echo. I heard through Jess, my team lead, that they'd scattered after our meeting. Diane moved to a small condo, humbled and quiet. Claire took a retail job, her sass gone. Nate bounced between gigs, his charm useless without his family's cash. They saw my face on billboards, in stores, on TV. Emma Carson, not their leech. I didn't wish them pain. Their regret wasn't my goal, my peace was. I'd forgiven them, not for their sake, but to free my heart. My mind, though, it stayed sharp, guarding what I'd built. The defining moment came during a live stream from our Nashville showroom, a month after the Carson meeting. We were launching a new jewelry line, but I wanted to share more than products. The camera rolled, 10,000 viewers watching, my team behind me. I wore a simple white dress, my voice steady from years of practice. Y'all know my story, I began, the chat buzzing. I was called a gold digger, told I'd be nothing without my ex's family. They said I was only good for spending money, not making it. I paused, Diane's sneer flashing in my mind. I didn't rebuild to prove them wrong, I continued. I rebuilt to live so fiercely they'd wish they'd seen me. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to show you that you can rise. 2. The chat exploded. Queen, inspiration. I shared how I'd started with $50, a broken heart, and a dream. If you're out there feeling small, keep going. You're not their words, you're your fight. Orders poured in, but the real win was the comments. I left my toxic job because of you. Starting my business tomorrow. I ended the stream teary, my team hugging me. This was bigger than me. Days later, I opened a new showroom in Memphis, designed to mentor young women entrepreneurs. I walked the floor, meeting artisans and trainees, some fresh from their own battles, divorces, dead-end jobs, families who'd doubted them. One, a 22-year-old named Mia, showed me her handmade earrings, eyes bright. You're why I tried, she said. I smiled, seeing myself in her. Day one, Mia, I said. You're your own boss now. As she grinned, I felt it. Tennessee Heart wasn't just a brand. It was a promise. Standing in that showroom, lights glinting off display cases, I thought of the girl who'd left Nate's house, suitcase in hand. She'd carried me here, through every tear, every late night, every you'll fail. I didn't need the Carsons' apologies or their shame. I had Tennessee Heart, my team, and a world of women starting over. As I locked up, my reflection caught in the glass door. Strong, whole, Emma. I'd turned Leach into a legacy, not for hate, but for hope. That's my story, y'all. If you're out there fighting your own doubters, don't stop. Your heart's waiting. Hit that like button, subscribe, and tell me, what's your day one?